When the police found the cocaine in Tyler's glove compartment, his face went completely white, like all the blood just drained out. I was standing right there in our driveway, watching him get handcuffed, and I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from smiling. My name is Sarah, and I married Tyler's father when Tyler was 14. Difficult age, everyone said. He'll come around, they said. Give it time. Well, I gave it time. 4 years of time. 4 years of Tyler treating me like I was some random woman who'd invaded his space and had no right to exist in his father's house. Tom, my husband, he'd make excuses. He's still grieving his mother, he'd say. He's just acting out. Acting out. That's what Tom called it when Tyler would walk into a room and completely ignore me. When he'd leave his dirty dishes right next to the dishwasher instead of in it. When he'd blast music at midnight on school nights, knowing I had early meetings the next day. When he'd bring friends over without asking and they'd track mud through the house I'd just cleaned. Small things. Nothing Tom would consider serious enough to actually address. But small things add up. Death by 1,000 cuts. By the time Tyler turned 18, I was taking anxiety medication just to function in my own home. 18-year-olds are supposed to launch. Go to college, get jobs, move out, start their lives. Tyler did none of those things. Tom paid for community college classes Tyler never attended. Covered the insurance on a car Tyler used to drive around town with his unemployed friends, smoking weed and playing video games at our house until 3 in the morning. I'd find beer bottles in the bathroom trash. Cigarette butts in the backyard flower beds I'd spent 2 summers cultivating. Food missing from the pantry, money missing from my purse. When I brought these things to Tom, he'd sigh and promise to have a conversation. The conversations never happened. Or they did happen, lasted 5 minutes, and changed nothing. Tom couldn't see it. How Tyler was systematically making life unbearable for me. How every day felt like walking through a minefield, never knowing what new disrespect I'd discover. How Tyler had figured out exactly how far he could push without crossing Tom's very distant line. Last month, Tyler's friend Derek got arrested for possession. Derek, who'd been in my living room the week before, leaving crumbs on my couch and ashes on my coffee table. Tom and I had fought about it. I said Tyler needed to get a job or move out. Tom said Derek's problems weren't Tyler's fault. That Tyler was a good kid going through a rough patch. 22 years old, still a kid in Tom's eyes. Derek's arrest gave me an idea. A terrible, perfect idea. I knew Derek dealt more than he used. I also knew Tyler bought from him regularly. Had seen the exchanges in our driveway, watched Tyler palm something from Derek's hand during those long, supposedly casual conversations by Tyler's car. The difference was Tyler was smart about it. Never carried enough to get arrested. Never got caught. Always had Tom to bail him out if anything went wrong. But what if Tyler's luck ran out? What if someone made an anonymous call to the police about suspicious activity? What if they found something in Tyler's car during a routine traffic stop? 3 weeks ago, I was cleaning out the garage when I found Derek's old backpack shoved behind some paint cans. Tyler must have stashed it there after Derek got arrested, figuring it would be safer than keeping it in his room. Inside was a small bag of white powder. Cocaine, I assumed. Maybe an ounce. Enough to turn a misdemeanor into a felony if someone was unlucky enough to get caught with it. I stared at that bag for 10 minutes, thinking about all those sleepless nights. All those mornings I'd wake up to find my kitchen destroyed by Tyler and his friends. All those times Tom had chosen his son over his wife, over peace in his own home, over basic respect for the person he'd promised to love and honor. The bag felt heavier than it should have, like it was full of possibilities instead of powder. I took it, wrapped it in a paper towel and hid it in my jewelry box. Told myself I was just getting it out of our house. Told myself I'd figure out how to dispose of it safely later. But late at night, when Tyler's music was shaking the walls and Tom was snoring beside me, I'd think about that bag, about how simple it would be to put it somewhere Tyler couldn't explain, how a single phone call could change everything, make Tyler someone else's problem. Force Tom to finally see what his son really was. Last Tuesday, Tyler left for one of his all-day gaming sessions at a friend's house. Left his car unlocked in our driveway like always. I waited until Tom left for work. Then I walked out to Tyler's car with that paper towel package in my hands. The glove compartment was full of Tyler's usual junk. Fast food napkins, expired registration, charging cables. I pushed everything to one side and placed the bag in the back corner where someone would find it if they were looking, but not if they were just grabbing napkins. Then I went inside and called the police from our landline, changed my voice slightly, said I was a concerned neighbor who'd noticed suspicious activity. Young men coming and going at all hours. Thought they should check it out. Gave them Tyler's license plate number, his description. Said I'd seen what looked like a drug deal in that same driveway just the day before. They promised to send someone to investigate. I hung up and made myself a cup of coffee, sat at the kitchen window and waited. Tyler bonded out after 2 days in jail. Tom hired a lawyer, of course, put our house up as collateral. The charges are still pending. Tyler's looking at 2 to 5 years if convicted. He swears the drugs weren't his, that someone must have planted them. Tom believes him, keeps talking about fighting the charges, proving Tyler's innocence, how this is all some terrible mistake. Tyler's been different since the arrest. Quieter, more respectful, says yes ma'am and no ma'am when he talks to me. Cleans up after himself, comes home by 10. The house feels peaceful for the first time in years. Tom thinks it's because Tyler's scared straight, finally growing up, learning from this wake-up call. I let him believe that. Some nights I feel guilty. Tyler might go to prison for something he didn't do. His life could be ruined because I couldn't find a way to coexist with a disrespectful stepson. Other nights I remember what it felt like to live under siege in my own home. To be ignored and dismissed and treated like an intruder by someone who contributed nothing but chaos to our household. Tyler made his choices long before I made mine. He chose to disrespect me every single day for years. He chose to use drugs, to steal from me, to turn my home into his personal playground. I just made sure there were finally consequences for those choices. The drugs were his friends. Tyler was handling them, hiding them, profiting from them. I didn't create his connection to that world. I just made sure it caught up with him. Maybe that makes me a criminal. Maybe it makes me a terrible person. Or maybe it makes me a woman who was tired of being invisible in her own life and finally found a way to be seen. The house is quiet now. Tyler might go to prison, but Tom and I might survive. Sometimes the only way to save a marriage is to sacrifice what's destroying it. Even if that thing is your husband's son, what would you have done? Tell me in the comments.